All good? Okay, good morning, folks. We'll go ahead and get started. We are out on YouTube again, I'm told.
Out or on?
On YouTube, I should say. We are live. So don't forget to turn your ringers off. And we'll proceed with an invocation by Commissioner Harrison, pledged by Commissioner Werfel. If you wish to join us, please rise.
Please join with me. Heavenly Father, we come before you today to do the good work of Berrien County. Please help us keep in mind the needs of our citizens, the stresses that they feel, and help guide us as we make decisions that are fair and equitable to all. Please also remember those individuals in the Ukraine. May you guide them to safety and out of harm's way. Amen.
Amen. Where's the flag? It's right there.
Right there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Bell.
Here.
Curran.
Here.
Freeling.
present.
Harrison.
Here.
Hinkleman.
Here.
Majeri.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Ballrap.
Present.
Werfel. Here. Yarborough.
Present.
Elliott.
Yes,
Mr. Chair, you have 12 present.
thank you. Anyone who was here for the special and regular meetings last week, motions in order to approve both sets of those meetings.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Curran, supported by Volrath. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Madam Clerk, please reflect that as 11 yeas. Communications.
Yes, you received an email communication from Alon McMichael, Niles, Michigan, an email regarding property on North 5th Street, Niles, Michigan, received on May 11th.
Thank you. Are we reviewing requisitions today? Maybe later, or maybe not. If we do, we can get through them in due course. You want to go into Mr. Hettinger now? Is he ready?
Is walking in the door.
Oh, that's
right
coming
now.
in now?
Yep.
Okay. All right, we'll wait. Annette, do we have any requisitions that we need to review? Well, now is as good a time as any if you want.
Perfect. So the requisitions were sent out. Does anybody have any questions about what's on the list? No? Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Members of the board, we have Jim Hettinger here today. And I'm going to hand out a one-pager to help with Jim's comments. So you're going to get a one-page sheet just describing some of the edits that Jim has made to the strategic plan. Additionally, each of you has been presented with a USB drive with a copy of the completed plan. It is a lengthy document. If you need a hard copy, just let me know. We can take care of that. But as part of an effort just to minimize some of our printing, I figured we'll just give it to you each with the USB. Once we are completed with Jim's review, my intent is to bring forward an authorizing resolution for adoption of that plan. I will get the plan posted up on the county's website so it's available to anyone who's desirous of seeing it. All right, so I'm going to ask Jim to head to the podium. While he's doing that, I'm going to walk around the room and give you a copy of the one pager.
morning, Commissioners. Originally, I wasn't able to be here with you today. This would have been a Zoom presentation, but the place where I'm headed is COVID inundated, so I'm staying home. County Administrator asked me to come in and summarize some of the changes and the twists and turns that this planning process has taken. You have kind of an outline there that I'll work from. Fair warning in advance, I probably will engage a couple of you in the course of this presentation because of your expertise on certain subjects that have been talked about and discussed within the plan. The process started in January of 2021 and was contracted to end at December 31st, 2021. 5 months later, we didn't quite make our deadlines. At the same time, many things happened along the way that kind of shook the pathway and forced us to do some things that weren't originally anticipated. The original process, as you will recall, started with a plan to create a strategic economic development strategy for the county, for Berrien County. We had some success creating a plan in the city of South Haven, where despite the COVID issues, the plan has turned out to be a pretty resilient document. And I think the county administrator believed there was considerable opportunity to apply that model to what you were doing here in Berrien County. SWOT analysis, almost all planning documents have some form of evaluation of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, etc. This is a methodology that's pretty much in common for any planning document, and that's where we initially began efforts here in Berrien County. You like to do work like this, at least I do, with a maximum of citizen input. COVID forced a change in tactics in the midst of a resurgence that occurred during the planning time. We deemed it wise to forego large group meetings, not that anybody would have shown up anyway, but to focus on virtual one-on-one meetings, meet with one-on-one with whomever was available, and to drastically boost the data gathering aspect of this. Approximately 40 virtual interviews took place, probably 20 more face-to-face. We placed several surveys online and tapped into the information produced by your county master planning process. So there was a real effort to tie things together there and make the overall planning portion of the county's operations very consistent with one another. As mentioned earlier, the different circumstances forced a heavier reliance on research and data gathering. It should be noted that we have great appreciation for the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission, who not only was generous with their sharing of data, but also sharing of their time with certain staff members. And it enabled us to look at Berrien County from more of a regional perspective and how they may interact with their neighbors. The initial interviews produced an early consensus that Berrien County should pursue some sort of an asset management strategy, and the theme was strong enough, and a lot of this came out of the southern part of the county too, by the way. But the theme was strong enough that I approached the county administrator, who told me that I was timely, that things were well underway with a development of an asset management strategy. So that necessitated kind of another switch in direction and in tactics. At the same time, a strategy was needed to prioritize funding opportunities for the $29.8 million in American Rescue Funds, ARPA, coming to Berrien County. You have some deadlines there that you have to meet. And again, we felt it was important to try and sort some of this through in terms of planning and allocation of assets in the future. So we slowed down to allow the asset management planning process to catch up. At the same time, Congress passed the infrastructure bill, and this was about November of 2021. We had 1 month to complete the project, and then this whole new monster was tossed in our laps. Fortunately, it's an interesting and pleasant monster, and I think already the county's taken some steps to deal with it. But study of the infrastructure bill revealed multiple opportunities for funding infrastructure within Berrien County. When paired with ARPA funds, the infrastructure bill greatly strengthens the county's financial prospects for dealing with infrastructure and development, not to mention a redeployment of county government services in a way that best serves the changing demographics of Berrien County. The need for asset management. By the end of February, we had a new draft ready. It was still vague because the asset management plan had not fallen into place as yet. The recommended scope of activity really needed a last minute touch to account for the changes the asset management plan brought forth. So the only area where at this point there seemed to be a solid consensus, particularly among the county commissioners, was that Berrien County needed to be a prime mover in the extension of high-speed internet throughout the county. We set aside money early on in that document to meet your requirements there. I want to go into some of the development ideas, and this is probably where I will engage a few of you. But as you may recall, the original draft contained a number of articles concerning e-learning, coastal resiliency, and enhanced agriculture. Input from some of you as the plan was worked and reworked revealed a concern that some of the backup data was a bit dated. And I would cite the article on the province of New Brunswick in Canada and high-speed fiber. That article was dated 1993, and by any standard, academic or otherwise, that's dated material. However, the purpose of providing you with that information was twofold. First of all, Berrien County in 2022 is expanding high-speed internet throughout the county. Province of New Brunswick did it in 1993. So you have to cede a certain amount of advantage to people who have done this and experienced this long before you have. The second part of that inclusion is that if you look at some of the areas that have, and where I work, Battle Creek is kind of prototypical of all this, mistakes were made along the way. And I've carefully watched those mistakes. I made a couple myself in Battle Creek, and in discussions with Commissioner Freeland, who's been pretty active in this movement, I've been pretty upfront that, you know, I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did, because at least one of them, used by the public, needs far more attention than most communities would realize. So the New Brunswick article, though, despite being dated, we have a little bit of hindsight here as to what happened after they installed high-speed internet. And one of the things that happened in the first 8 years of internet usage was that this province in Canada took some of the lowest small business formation rates, literacy rates, and quickly converted them, again, within an 8-year period, to some of the highest in Canada. And educational attainment levels went up right along with it. So this is a very powerful tool when utilized in ways that best serve the public. And hopefully, as you travel down that road, you can keep your minds tuned to the fact that there's a lot of experience out there Why make the same mistakes they did? Why not do things better than they did? So, one of the aspects, and this is where I would engage Commissioner Harrison a little bit, but in our talks with Berrien Springs Public Schools, I had learned long before that the Berrien Springs Public Schools were well known for their creation of an alternative education curriculum and their ability to deliver it across the state. And I'm thinking, learning industry, they've got the comparative advantage here. They got people that know how to do curriculum development. Some of the comments I got back were that in terms of alternative education, public schools have got what they need now. There may not be any market for it. And that's kind of sent me back to the drawing board. Well, why not create curriculum if you have that competency, curriculum building, curriculum development? Why not build that competency into something I call convenience education, which, again, with the high-speed internet, affords your residents the possibility to upskill themselves to attain higher levels of education at their convenience, not necessarily at the convenience of a professor's schedule or a school schedule or travel that you might have to do in the middle of wintertime. So I think the need for online education is very diverse. There are few ways in Michigan to access, for example, marine repair technology. And Michigan ranks in the top 5 states of registered boats, but the closest training institution is in Wisconsin. But you go up and down the west coast of Michigan and people are crying for marine technicians. Why can't we fill that gap here? We've got a community college, we've got a port, we've got marinas, we've got work to do. And this attracts money to the community. So I don't know, Commissioner, if that is a valid observation on my part. Being in public administration for a long time, my adage is just because I don't know what I'm doing doesn't mean that's going to stop me. So,
I think the points you raise are very good. What's amazing is whether we like it or not, COVID has now brought online learning to the general public. And so using my daughter as an example, last summer she took online classes from Lake Michigan College, from Grand Valley State University, Grand Rapids Community College, and West Shore in Ludington, all because it would fit within her schedule and her curriculum needs. And so I think the higher ed industry has come a long way. There are examples like marine technology that have come up in the past. The issue is always getting raw numbers of students interested in that. And that's where I think as a society, we still haven't, we haven't gotten to the point where we encourage students to follow their passions in carpentry, plumbing, electric, or marine technology. And we're a long ways from where we need to be with that.
agreed. I think the average age of a welder in this country now is 56 years old. Plumber, 54 years old. Where are the replacements? None of these needs are going to go away. Anyway, continuing on, there was support material for the whole idea of coastal resiliency. And I did take that out, but I've left a lot of the wording in. Berrien County has a very diverse shoreline, one of the most diverse in the state. You have committed and activist shoreline groups. And there's a worldwide need for better information on coastal management. So I think this is something that you need to shake the tree on a little bit and see if there's a project or an economic development project there. Similarly, I defer to Commissioner Scott's experience on this issue and whether or not he would consider it an opportunity. And if so, how we might actuate it. That takes us down to marrying up the efforts, and By the end of the second draft in February, we transitioned from a strategic economic development plan to more of a planning document. And from that, what we have today, a strategic priorities initiatives document, which is nonetheless a hybrid planning and economic development document. And the strategic prioritization initiative is primarily to position the county to better marry the unusual funding opportunity, unusual and abundant funding opportunities to long-term county asset needs. That became more so when Pierce and Abbenmarsh completed an extensive asset management plan. And at our request, after they had presented to you, we said, so what are the 10 top things that the county needs to pay attention to from this extensive list you provided? And by the way, the plan's of 361 pages long. Most of it is the asset management plan. And I think that's a great document for you to work from in the future in terms of allocating resources. So it seems now as though the ARPA, the infrastructure, state and local funding mechanisms, your ability to bond for projects, constitutes an unusual opportunity to address near, short-term county asset needs. And again, to plan your expenditures out over a 10-year period. Further, in an asset investment and reinvestment strategy, the county will be in a position to address new deployments of county services in response to changes within the county. If, for example, you learn that there are larger communities of elderly living in a certain part of the county, the idea would be to somehow bring county services closer to them on the internet or in a physical capacity. In summary, you've got a hybrid planning document that's cognizant of the extraordinary circumstances that we find today. The document takes into account the consensus among you that funding is to be distributed to the extension of high-speed internet and directed towards long-term asset management. The document also leaves on the table an identification of comparative advantages in Berrien County, whether those advantages can be converted to strategic competencies and thus platforms for economic development is something that needs to be investigated. Finally, a number of people that we talked to were working either professionally or voluntarily in food production in Berrien County. And I never tire of pointing out to people that given the presence of Berrien and Van Buren counties, Michigan ranks in the top 10 agricultural states in the production of 45 different fruits and vegetables. So we've got some real advantage there. We have a president talking about food shortages. We have 27 food processing plants that have somehow burned down over the past 10 years. And yet we in Berrien County are able to produce fresh food, distribute it locally. And some of the exchanges I've had with some of the food groups, and the MSU Extension Service is one of them, is that how can Berrien County craft a strategy where it can take advantage of some of these mishaps that are occurring in US food production and make itself a stronger, even stronger agricultural producer. So outside of that, those issues, you now have a guide that can steer investment into county facilities, and I think enable better governance from you over the next 10 years, more responsive governance. And Commissioner Curran pointed out to me the last time I was here that the county was looking at engaging the services of a grant writer, and I say amen, get on it, because we're not going to be the only people looking for funds in a competitive situation, and the better prepared we are, the better we can compete. And I think you know, if I may say so myself, I think you've got a pretty competitive plan here that you can cite while you are seeking funding from various federal agencies. And somebody really needs to keep their eye on the federal departments because they're publishing guidelines this year for grants, and it's more or less a process where somebody needs to check weekly as to whether guidelines are out and then think about where Berrien County may fit. So I will answer any questions you may have. Any concerns?
Anyone have anything for Jim? Yes, ma'am.
Jim, I just want to thank you for all of your time and commitment to this document. It was an ever-moving, sort of fluid target as we saw federal and state funding coming in, and it was unprecedented, if I can use that term. I know it really has been overused, but this really is unprecedented times, and the funding and trying to figure out from our perspective of the board how to proceed. This document has been very helpful. I think with the revisions that are presented, it'll serve as an excellent guidepost for us in our decision-making as a board moving forward in the next coming months and years. So thank you for your work.
The last 17 changes were yours.
Only 17?
She went through it carefully. That's what we want.
You're slacking.
Mr. Chair, could I make
Sure.
a couple of comments?
Just like you gotta condense down to 300.
Members of the board, to the members that have taken the time to sit with Jim, thank you. To the members that have offered just verbal feedback, email feedback, thank you. The document is one that, to some, the quick criticism is, oh, you're just going to adopt this and sit it on the shelf. I can tell you that my intent is to bring forward an authorizing resolution at next week's meeting. As soon as this board adopts it, the next step is to take the document and to place it into the hands of the members of the legislature that are sitting on billions in potential allocations that can come back locally. So here's the quick pep talk. Your admin committee worked with the 911 advisory committee. You had a series of public discussions that led up to the decision that absolutely a new tower is needed to help with 911 communications. That process led to a conversation with your local state senator to get it onto her radar. She then carried the ball forward, and it resulted in a $5 million allocation from the state of Michigan to help you all with the implementation of improved 911 communications. So that's the story that leads to what Jim is preparing, and that is a plan that lays out the vision of what investments need to occur locally to help this county continue to provide excellent services and to help the county grow. You all adopt the plan. Your lobbyist is going to have it. Members of the legislature are going to have it. And I'm going to make sure that it's not just your two reps and your senator. We are going to broadcast this across Lansing to try and help justify the plan to improve your courts, to improve your jail, to improve your road department, to improve your parks, and on and on. This is yet more evidence of why it's important to have the state of Michigan investing into the county. So with respect, I would say, let's get this done. Let's get it across the finish line. Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'd like to thank Jim for his hard work and the admin committee, and also to Brian. Just one quick question. So have we heard anything from, I guess, the treasury or from the state level in terms of what that infrastructure money, what that looks like, how much we're getting, and how can that just flow into our strategic plan?
Yeah, so out of Lansing, there is legislation that is being considered on a day-to-day basis. Just yesterday, Senator Lozada was pushing legislation that would create a grant funding stream for new broadband construction on a county-by-county basis. That legislation was based largely on comments received by people sitting at this table. This plan is going to help us with communicating our other needs. And to answer your question, yes, we've got an idea of what is being considered in Lansing by the legislature, but I can tell you, it's like shifting sands. It is changing by the day, and now more than ever. It's really important for Berrien to have a pretty loud voice of what your needs are. This document is further evidence of what your needs are.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
I kind of, it's not because I don't know, I've looked at each one, but do they come together?
They do.
We have Hettinger, we have Marsh and Pearson looking at something.
Yes.
We have lobbyists looking at grants. Does it do this?
Yes, it does. And what Jim's document does is it ties our efforts into one document. So the new guy, Jim, you just
Yeah.
got a copy of the Marsh report. That report has been hand delivered to members of the legislature.
Okay,
The same thing's going to occur with Jim's report. It's going to illustrate the needs laid out in the Marsh report. It's going to then be further evidence that this board is saying with a strong consensus that these are the needs, that we have to focus on improvements to the public facilities to ensure that they are resilient, that they are providing good quality service. And every dollar that we can pull from the state is one less dollar that you need to spend of your local money.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Ma'am.
The only thing I want to impress on this document versus the infrastructure bill and the funding that would be coming, this is direct dollars that are coming to counties to decide what is needed within our communities. So these are discretionary in what we see as priorities based on what has happened through COVID. What is coming through the Infrastructure Act will be funneled through the state, through the channels with which they set and those guideposts that they set. That is one of the reasons why we are working on these documents, like the asset management, having our grant writer working with lobbying organizations so that we can be prepared to have that conversation with our state legislation to say, here is the additional needs that we're finding on top of what we've received through the American Rescue Plan dollars that this document that Jim is presenting today addresses. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there's nothing else, thank you, Jim. We'll move to public comments regarding resolutions. So anything to do with any resolution that appears on the consent calendar, or for that matter, the added resolution, which is an honorary resolution. Public comment would be in order at this time. All right, hearing none, is there a motion to proceed with the consent calendar, presumably without 1169 on it, which we could read separately? Moved by
I'll
Volrath,
support.
supported by Scott. Any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll as to the consent calendar without the added resolution ending in 1169?
Curran,
Yes.
Freeling,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Hinkleman. Majerick,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Walrath,
Yes.
Werfel,
Yes.
Yarborough,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes,
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas.
thank you. I'll read aloud B 22051169 and then move for its adoption. This one registers on the Richter scale. I've known Nick for 40 years. Started working with him in 1985, and we were planning to have him come in next month to be honored by the board. Sheriff Bailey spent time frequently with Nick at the assisted living place up in Coloma, I think. Anyone who's ever been at Nick and Arlisa's house on Elm Terrace knows that when you go there, it's a place of peace. There's just something about it. it's almost a spiritual impact it has on you. And they certainly have led Christian lives in the best sense. But Nick knew that we were planning to honor him like we did Kenny Wenzel 3 years ago. Hopefully we can still go ahead with that honor posthumously, and his family can come in for that. But for today, the Berrien County Board of Commissioners respectfully moves the adoption of the following resolution. Whereas Forrest Nick Jewell was born on June 23, 1929 in Berrien County, and whereas he graduated from Benton Harbor High School, attended college, and served 2 years in the military before beginning a life in law enforcement. And whereas he worked for 12 years in the Berrien County Sheriff's Office, 8 of those as a command officer, before defeating the incumbent sheriff and becoming the Berrien County Sheriff on January 1, 1969. Whereas on the campaign trail, Jewell said he aimed to open a substation on the south end of the county, reestablish the junior deputy program, secure a lie detector for the department, add a chief to the detective division, work to prevent the loss of officers to the private sector, and arrange for extended training for all of his officers. And whereas Sheriff Jewell accomplished that and then some, adding a narcotics lab, crime lab, bomb squad, and greatly improving communications systems within the department. And I might add that includes interdepartmental as well, state and local. Whereas an outstanding law enforcement officer, Sheriff Jewell remained in office until he retired November 1, 1991, after 23 years as sheriff and 36 overall in the field. And whereas beyond the badge, he was a dedicated family man, dedicated to his church and dedicated to his community. Whereas at the age of 92, the man who will forever be known as Sheriff Jewell passed away over this past weekend, leaving behind a legacy that will live on in his family and the law enforcement community forever. Now therefore, be it hereby resolved that the Berrien County Board of Commissioners remembers and honors Sheriff Forrest Nick Jewell for being a true asset to the citizens of Berrien County and sends their condolences to the family during their time of grief. Be it further resolved that Sheriff Jewell's life, actions, and contributions reflect most favorably upon himself, his family, Berrien County Sheriff's Office, the County of Berrien, the State of Michigan, and the United States of America. Respectfully submitted, Berrien County Board of Commissioners, and I move the adoption of this resolution.
I support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Freeling,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Hinkleman.
Yes.
Majerick,
Yes.
Martin, Scott,
Yes.
Ballrath,
Honored to say yes.
Werfel,
Yes.
Scarborough,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes,
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas.
thank you. There's a visitation tomorrow afternoon, as you probably know. We intend to present the formal version of this resolution framed to the family. And look forward to seeing some of you there tomorrow, if you can make it. Committee reports, Mr. Admin Chair.
Thank you, Matt. This morning, we had our interim shelter manager in to see us this morning, and I see she's in the room. With your permission, I'd like to have her stand up so all the commissioners can see her. It's Ashley Herr. Morning, Ashley.
Good morning.
Did you want to say anything to the board?
Just that I'm happy to be a part of everything and moving forward, I'm looking forward to working with everybody.
Great, thank you. Ashley began by telling us a little bit about herself, and also in the room was Sheriff Bailey. And when Ashley got to the part where she's a Eau Claire alum, The sheriff jumped right in with "Go Beavers." Sheriff is also an alum of Eau Claire. So Ashley just talked to us about, settling in on the role. She's been the shelter supervisor for the last 3 years, so she's not new. So she has some experience. So we welcomed her. Next time we get together, we are going to have some resolutions for you. These are all from the trial court. 276, resolution ending in 276 is for the Swift and Sure Sanctions Probation Program. Berrien County Trial Court plans to submit an application in the amount of $264,740 with an in-kind match of $8,699.02. This is for a one-year term beginning October 1st of 2022. So that's for the Swift and Sure program. Resolution ending in 277. Again, State Court Administrative Office. This is for the Drug Court Grant Program. Berrien County Trial Court plans to submit an application in the amount of $90,943.40 with an in-kind match of $125,568.46 for a one-year term beginning October 1st of 2022. That is for the drug court. And resolution ending in 278 is again from the State Court Administrator. This is for the Michigan Mental Health Court Grant Program. Berrien County Trial Court plans to submit an application in the amount of $156,219.05 with an in-kind match of $20,340.25 for 1 year beginning October 1st of 2022. We approved our minutes. We welcomed our new commissioner to the administration committee, and that's our report.
Any questions for admin? Jim, how was it with admin? Like old times?
Yes, I'll make a comment later.
Okay. All right, Madam Chair of Finance.
Yes, thank you. We had some activity, very interesting. Hello.
Troublemaker in the back.
Community Development Director Dan Fetty met with the Finance Committee, and he has a resolution that he's going to bring next week. It ends in number 286. He is applying for the Michigan Economic Development Corporation RAMP program. And what's happened, they've been meeting for quite some time. The DDA, Downtown Development Authority of Benton Harbor, and the Downtown Development Authority of Niles are eligible for a program because they are cities and because of the population or whatever. And he said it's the entry to Berrien County from, no, I only know left and right, north and south. Thank you, from north and the entrance to Berrien County from the south. And it's so interesting in that Cornerstone Alliance and the Downtown Development Authorities of these two communities, plus Dan Fetty from Berrien County, have been working together. And Berrien County, through Dan Fetty, is going to apply for this grant. It's a possibility that combined $10 million may be given to those two cities. And they have programs that they're working on, things to make their downtown better, to help new businesses, just all kinds of things. I look forward to seeing what's going to go on. One example I used in Benton Harbor, there's a restaurant called Houndstooth. And for me, it's in a building where we used to buy our school supplies. And the building is narrow and it's on an alley. They're going to do something to that alley to make it like a walkway, because already there are about 4 apartments above, 4 lofts, and one is an Airbnb, and it has a balcony. And the balcony is no larger than this, but it's on the alley. So if they do flowers or trees or whatever, the alley's in good condition. I can see it being a pass through for us to get to some other things. It's right across the street from the city center. fire department and all of that. So it's just going to enhance our community, and we'll go and see what they're doing in Niles. But a number of things like this, and they feel pretty good about we are definitely eligible, and the way they're coming together as two cities, a number of things hopefully will make it work. And so next week, we're coming with that resolution. I'm hoping that we will pass it because they have to have the application in by June 1. So it means to happen in maybe summer, they'll know if they received it or not. Then we have a waiver request for, oh, this is so little. I don't know where my glasses are. Prime coding system. Is that for the sheriff's department?
Yeah, padded cell.
It's for the padded cell in the sheriff's department. When people are in the padded cell, it is a wall with some kind of, surface on it, but they pick at it. And it makes it dangerous because it's raw and it's backed by wood, but there are a number of layers of things, and they have constantly been making repairs. And this is something new they want to try. And in a padded cell, this is sealing the walls and the floor. And so we approved that by consensus. Then we had a resolution to approve weekly bills and road payables and approve the minutes of May 12th. That's my report.
Very good. Thank you. Questions for finance? Mr. Chair of PHS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We also met this morning. We will have 3 resolutions for you for next week. The first relates to a non-endowed Parks Improvement Fund being set up at the Berrien Community Foundation. This is targeted towards the acquisition of property adjacent to our park up in the Waterville area. And so we have a number of donors and organizations who are supporting that purchase, and they'll make contributions and they'll be housed at the foundation for a small administrative fee. The second relates to money coming from this Michigan Department of Public Health. This is for additional funding for the health department related to the emerging threats money that we receive already. And it will be targeted towards employee issues, training, and support services. And then the third is an application being submitted to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Trust Fund targeted towards expansion of services to prevent child abuse and neglect. And so you can anticipate those coming to you next week. We also considered and approved advanced step hire requests from building and grounds. We have 2 there and 1 from the public defender office. And then we also met with our administrator and talked a bit about trails in northern Berrien County. So that would conclude our work.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions for PHS? Commissioner reports. John, we'll start here and go around.
I attended the mobility study for Benton Harbor being conducted by the University of Michigan. They talked about needs and changes being proposed. Also attended the Carol's Hope fundraiser and the police officer memorial event on Monday. And then also worked with the Committee on Committees doing several interviews. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
I also attended that mobility workshop with Commissioner Harrison, and it was just interesting seeing the presentations and hearing them talk about the possible route changes for the Takata service area and ways to connect people across northern Berrien County. And also I'd like to remind everyone that the Boys and Girls Club event is happening in 30 minutes, actually. So it'll be a good time. That concludes my report.
I attended some of the same interviews as Commissioner Harrison on the Committee on Committees, and that's it.
Just like to say the senior PGA is next week, and everybody should support that if you can.
And I had a busy day of meetings yesterday. Started with some trails meeting. We've got some St. Joe Button Harbor opportunities that'll be coming forward soon. But I got to observe that yesterday. That was very some exciting things coming. Then we had a parks meeting yesterday afternoon. We did approve the landscape plan for Lighthouse Point. I don't know if that's going to come through PHS to come to the board. We'll have a contract for maintenance and all of that. That was all a part of the discussion. Silver Beach is in the process of getting fully open for the season. So that's going well. One lacking area is we need lifeguards. If we want to have lifeguards for, 7 days a week, we have to have more lifeguards. So we are probably about halfway there is what Jill thought yesterday. So if you know people that want to be a lifeguard, it's a great job. And you get to work for Berrien County and you get to sit in the sun all day. Then we had a community action agency last night. Water distribution of note is moving at the end of this month from the high school to the Boys and Girls Club. And the self-serve distribution at the community action agency will continue on all the other days. And I think the distribution at the Boys and Girls Club is Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, I believe are the dates that they do those. And then the other days will be at the Community Action Agency warehouse. And then they also gave us a report on a lot of stats. If anybody's interested in them, I'm happy to share them with you. But one of the great interesting stats is that so far this year, which is 7 months for the Community Action Agency, they've provided $2.5 million in assistance over the 7 months of 2022. And just to compare that, last year in 2021, we did 2.7 in total for the entire 12 months. Pre-COVID, they were doing about 580,000 in assistance. So it has quadrupled through COVID, the assistance they provide. And that's my report.
Jim.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all you commissioners that you had the confidence in me to put me into this distinguished board that you have here. And I really appreciate that. Second of all, to the sheriff, I'd like to remind him that next time he comes before the administration committee, he'll be in a room full of Michigan Wolverines.
So did
That's why I was kicked up. And I've never had Jimmy John, so I don't know.
That's it.
Last night, went to the Berrien Mental Health Authority, which is Riverwood. And we went over SMI, which is serious mental illness, the program that's going on, where there's inpatient and outpatient. It could come from the courts. They could come from hospitals. And they put them in houses around the area. And the one we talked about or got a report on was Scottsdale. And they're now doing, if they go outpatient, they're now meeting in person as opposed to Zooming and such. And inside, everything's going well. They teach people how to start with the basics, hygiene and getting a job, or just dealing with making phone calls. It could be anything that's on there. They have actually had not many people quit on them. So the employment has been pretty solid and straight through this whole period. So it's all going well, and they produce once a year. I gave everybody one of these, and on 12 and 13, page 12 and 13, it shows you contacts you can make for resources, mental health prospects or customers, they call them. So that's my report.
I only had one thing that I wanted to request, if I could. I'd like to get an update on the lead water situation in Benton Harbor. And also I'd like to get an update from the health department on our filter distribution and how that's going from the health department. That's all I have.
I attended a committee meeting or was invited to be on a committee with the Kraslow Art Center because on August 23rd, the And You See sculpture will be 20 years old. It was 20 years ago that it was placed. And I was asked to be on it. I was on the Riverwood, I'm sorry, I was there too. I was on the Kraslow board, and I don't think at this time, but I've attended many things. And so I'm just honored to have been invited to be on this committee. They want to create a party, and I like parties. So it was so interesting in that the people that were on this committee were there, except one young man was 10 years old when it was being, placed there. But the curator and just all kinds of stuff, and we're excited. And they have a box of just pictures of from the start when Richard was first making the designs and all. And so please remember that date, August 23rd. I think it's on a Tuesday or something, but they wanted it to be the actual date that it was placed. And I remember being there, 2 semi flatbeds, trucks or something brought it. It couldn't come over I-94. Had to go real slow through Illinois, Indiana, Michigan. It was, the bottom had already been done. It's set where it won't shock you. If lightning hits that, all that metal, I wouldn't want to be there touching it, but all that metal, it will not, it's grounded. And it has 40-foot things down in there so that if the concrete dropped away, the sculpture would still stand. And people remark on it all the time when they come into St. Joe River or go down Lake Michigan. So it's a real honor and a beautiful thing that we have. So I'm hoping that we will support it at our park on August 23rd. And then I wanted to say that along with Commissioner Werfel, I was in the Parks Committee meeting, and such an interesting thing. They signed up, it's called Cobalt Survey Results. And it's done by them somehow connecting into your telephone, into your computer, into your car, and they can tell you how many people came to Silver Beach. And these numbers make you know that we got to keep it up in good condition, that we truly need that pavilion, because the date range is from January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. Just kind of total visits to Silver Beach was 728,500 people. 515,976 visits were Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day. 212,524 visits was during the shoulder seasons, which means it wasn't summer. People were just coming and walking and probably going to the pier and fishing and all the kinds of things. The average stay at the beach was 95 minutes. The visit frequency was 1.7 times, and the largest percentage of visitors are in the 15 to 24 age range. So it's just really interesting. And each department, I like the Parks Committee, each department, each park makes a report on what they're doing, what they need, or, like that. So that was our meeting yesterday. Thank you.
Is that it for finance?
That's all.
Or for you, I mean?
I don't know. No, that's for me. Yes.
Okay.
That's
Sorry.
enough. I know.
Oh, okay. Do you have anything?
Just a couple of quick comments. So you all have now met Ashley. I'm very pleased with the work that Ashley is doing, that the team out there is doing. A big thank you to the sheriff. As the animal control officers have been pulled into the sheriff's office, he's had them go through a series of trainings to get them up to speed on his expectations. While those trainings were occurring, the sheriff has noted that he was the animal control officer, and just a big thanks to the sheriff for the amount of time that he's personally invested in this transition. Tomorrow, I will meet with the Friends of Animal Control. Some of you will know that group. One of the members is a former board member. It's Bill Chickering. So tomorrow we meet and we're discussing potential building upgrades that the Friends are considering on making some donations to the county to assist with those building upgrades. Additionally, this week, several members of Committee on Committee took the time to assist with interviews for staff department head positions, and then also took the time to look at some trail building projects that are occurring up the road. I am going to be reaching out to the board members, trying to get you out to a site to look at some trail building that's occurring on private property. I'm going to try and do that Monday or Tuesday. So if you could, before you take off today, I just want to chat with the folks at the table who have not been in the car with me looking at some trail projects. The Committee on Committee completed an interview yesterday, affirmed what my belief is the absolute right hire. For next week, I'll be bringing forward an authorizing resolution to place Guy Miller into the health officer role, striking the acting title. So that'll be on next Thursday's agenda. In addition, we will have Mr. Hettinger's report adoption on next Thursday's agenda. A lot to get done. And with that said, I'm just letting you all know that I will be attending remotely. I will be at my first county administrators conference. So I will be there, but you'll be in good hands between Annette and Thaddeus. They'll keep everything on the rails. And lastly, just a big thanks to the sheriff and to Annette. The sheriff spent a ton of time with Sheriff Jewell. And on Saturday, you could see the genuine emotion in announcing that he had fallen and then announcing that he had passed. So to Paul, thank you for all the time you spent with Sheriff Jewell, and to Annette, your words that you put together on today's authorizing resolution are excellent. And thank you for making it such a high priority. Those are my comments, sir.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
We're now set to receive general public comments, so anything that you would like to talk about, as long as it's not slanderous or anything like that, I'm happy to hear from you, preferably within 2 minutes. Ma'am. There's a microphone there that'll help project your voice.
I'm sorry, did I step in front of you? No. Okay. I have a stack of pictures that I would like to leave with you. And that being said, I'm addressing a state statute about I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I should have asked you to tell us your name and where you're from.
My name is Nancy Mizuko. I'm from Coloma. I lived in St. Joe for over 12 years, well, actually 20 some years. And now I'm in Coloma Township.
Okay, thank you.
And I have addressed this fight once before, but not to this committee. We have a state statute that gives the power and authority, as it should, to the county road commission to protect, to clean, and to take care of our roads. That being said, those powers come with also a little bit of common sense that should be applied. We have had an issue, and I was told quite point blankly on Tuesday that not only are our trees being hacked and cut, and I literally mean hacked and cut, this is not just removal of dead trees. This is saplings. This is small maples. Michigan has been noted. Our tourism has been built on our lakes and on our trees. People come here to see the beauty, and it is not being kept. The actual problem, I was told that the trees are a hazard and they will be cut down, and they're going to go up and down every street and cut them down. My pictures show some of that. That reasoning says that because honeybees can sting and some people are allergic to them, we should also destroy those. I'm not a tree hugger to say that I'm going to go out and just create havoc. But I was born and raised on a property.
2 minutes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I feel that something needs to be addressed here. There's no common sense being used. I do.
Give that to Commissioner Curran, please.
At 1 o'clock this morning, my computer and my printer quit. So this is the good stuff. There is the drastic stuff still in my computer, and I will get it to you. Yes, they are. There shouldn't be.
Ma'am, is it MAZZUCCA? CCO, okay. Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Yes, ma'am. Name and where you're from.
My name is Nancy Petty, and I'm here representing an initiative of Spectrum Lakeland called United Through Motherhood. We're sponsoring 2 programs currently, and I want to acquaint you with them. The first is a diaper drive. We are one of the few counties along the lake that does not have such a program or did not have such a program until this past year. And diapers are a necessity for young families with small children. It is an expense for a family, and it's difficult for many families to meet that expense. Holland has a program in place. They've had one for 11 years. In their first year, they collected 5,000 diapers, which we also did in the year 2021. And of course, those are gone almost immediately. But after 11 years, Holland has been able during this past year to collect 350,000 diapers that filled a semi and met the needs of a number of families in the Holland area. So our goal is to match that. I have some information that I will leave with you regarding where diapers can be brought, the number of community folks and organizations that have supported this drive. We have the possibility of a large collection center that would actually store a semi's worth of diapers. So we are hoping to build on that through the coming years. And in order to get the community inspired to participate in the drive, we are also sponsoring a community read of the title Little Fires Everywhere. I will leave one of these posters here. This is a copy of the book. It is by Celeste Ng. It has won numerous awards.
2 minutes, ma'am.
And it addresses the issue of motherhood. Begs the question, what is a good mother? So it is a timely discussion. We have 4 discussion locations set with their times, and we have a Facebook page advertising that. So please participate, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Petty. Yes, ma'am. Name and where you're from.
I'm Annie Brown. I'm from South Haven, and I'm running for state representative. Actually, some of the issues that I'm passionate about have been already discussed today by Mr. Hettinger. The coastal resiliency and preserving our fragile shoreline and helping municipalities who have trouble with the constant erosion due to storms and high water levels. I'm also running to protect our farmers since we have one of the most diverse agricultural areas in the country. As Mr. Doucette implied, you need a loud voice in Lansing. And too many times, rural counties like Berrien are pushed on a back burner and ignored. I will be that loud voice in Lansing that brings your needs to the forefront. And finally, this is Police Week, National Police Week, and I want to thank our law enforcement officers who keep our communities safe. I've been attending Berrien County ALPAC meetings for 3 years, And as your next state representative, I will continue to support law enforcement and always work to improve community relations. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Okay, we'll close public comments, go to other business. Any other business? Announcements and reminders. We're back on the regular schedule next Thursday. Following Thursday, the 2nd of June, we'll be down at the Berrien County Youth Fair in the Memorial Building for a 6 p.m. start. And of course, we're closed for Memorial Day, which is a week from Monday. I think that's it. Anybody have anything else?